Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Let's talk about Ready to Love, honey. So the episode started with everyone trying to make their way to the trip, honey. So it was Lee, Kat, and Aries in one car on their way to the trip. And then Chris was riding with the rest of the guys. And then Jessica, Janelle, and Sierra were riding in the same car together. And so I was like, okay, first of all, I kept thinking, like, this is the first season where it just felt like there was no connections whatsoever. Of course, we know Phil and Aries sort of connect, or at least there's some chemistry there, but we haven't really seen connections with the others. So then, everyone got into the house, they chose their rooms, and then Tommy rolled into the house and he was like, they need to appreciate being able to spend time together and they need to focus on asking deeper questions and identifying like things that would help them determine like who they match with the most. And so he also told them that one of the ladies would be leaving the next day. So basically, Jessica and Janelle were in the room just talking, and Jessica was like, yeah, it feels like they're down to one connection, and that her connection is Murray. To be honest, I don't really see any sort of attraction there. But anyway, so she's like, she's not the biggest PDA person, but Murray, like, likes that level of affection, and so she'll see how she does, for the trip. And so Janelle started talking about her connection with Quentin and how she feels like the connection is natural. It just flows. It's easy. And she just plans to like enjoy being in the house with him. And then over on the other side, Sierra and Lee were making a cocktail, honey. They were pouring all of the alcohol in it, especially Sierra. Sierra is like, I'm going to pour more alcohol in this one. But, it was nice to just see them, like, vibing. To be honest, I feel like Sierra brought the comic relief that the season needed. And, yeah, definitely. Like, forget her being there for Ready to Love. It was more like she was there for vibes, and I was completely here for him. So, moving on, Quentin was pretty much grilling, I was like, okay, sir, you gotta grill topless. Do you have to? He was looking like he wasn't wearing anything underneath, but he was grilling topless and had like really short shorts on and an apron. I'm like, okay, Quentin, you know exactly what you're doing. So Kat went over there to like try to speak to him. But of course, Kat ain't got no connections, so she's trying to like get her connections so she does not go home money. So they start talking, Kat is like, oh, what do you want out of the process? Shortly after, Janelle walked in. Or at least came outside, right? So she's like, why are you naked? I'm like, okay, it's giving like mommy vibes. Like, why are you questioning this man like that? Like, it's not that deep, chill. And then Kat was like, oh, come over here with us. I don't mind sharing. And then Janelle was like, he's mine, so no. I'm like, bruh, why you gotta be so negative? Like, ain't that deep, honey? Like, this is Ready to Love where everyone is dating everyone. So you can't stand and be like, he's mine. It's impossible for you to say that. You guys are just dating. That's it. Like, you're dating multiple people. Like, what the hell is going on? So I was just like, yeah, no, it's not given. But Kat said something in the confessionals that actually made me so like laugh. She was like, Quentin needs to blink if he needs help, and that is given. He's in a sunken place. I was like, Kat, okay, girl. Like, I'm not even mad at you at all. Over on the other side, Phil was over there in Aris's space. I feel like they just like to be around each other, which is nice, but I'm like, I want to see more talking from you guys. Like, I don't know anything about your relationship. All I know is like the physical affection, the smiles, the giggles. Like, can we get some insight into what y'all talk about? Like, I'm genuinely curious. Like, what y'all talk about? Let's get some insight into that, honey. So on the other side, Quentin and Janelle sat together at the pool. And Quentin started telling Janelle that, he doesn't really swim. And, like, when he was younger, he had a swimming instructor that literally would just dump him in the water. And there was a point where he drowned. And, like, that's why he is not really, like, keen to swim. I'm like, Quentin, I get you, man. I have been in that situation before. The difference was like I was a fully grown adult and decided to do something silly. Maybe I will talk to you guys about it one time, but in the future. But yeah, I almost drowned once and I was just like, what the hell? So now I actually do want to learn how to swim because I just think it's a life skill to have. But like, yeah, I'm not really keen on water. Like, I'm keen on water, but I'm not keen on being in the water, like, if I can't stand in it. So if I can stand in it and I still feel comfortable enough, yeah, I will do that. But like, if I'm feeling like, okay, it's not stable, I can't stand in it, and like it's like the water is like reaching above my neck or something, yeah, that completely makes me uncomfortable. But if it's like my thigh, my hips, then I'm still okay. Once it starts getting all the way to my upper body, I'm like, nah. But maybe I'm going to learn how to swim anyway. So Janelle was like, oh, she'll give him some floating lessons. I was like, okay, cool. I really don't see what they see in each other, but if they like it, I love it. So Chris and Lee actually had like a mini conversation. And I was like, yo, I've never seen them together. And I'm just like, I don't know what the show was thinking. Like, those are the kind of dates we need to see. They are actually very cute together. I think, was it last week I was on a live panel, just like, being in the comments section. And I was like talking about Chris and Lee. Was it last week or anyways, at some point I was talking about Chris and Lee are actually so cute and I think they might be a good fit. So that's something to watch. So Lee was like, Chris calls her every day. I was like, okay, Chris knows what he wants. I totally see that. Chris is Nigerian, honey, and most Nigerian men love a woman with a body, honey, and Lee is like fitting that spec completely, honey. So I'm not surprised that Chris is calling that woman every day. Of course, there are other qualities about Lee, but I'm just saying that's just that body helps too, okay? So Lee was like, they were talking about like dream dates and whatnot. And Lee was like, her dream date is for her man to call her and say, let's go somewhere. And that we'll buy everything we need when we get there. Like, she would love that. And I honestly think that would be so cute. Like, I'm a planner, but like, I would love that. Like, that being said, let me give you a little quick gist, right? So there was this guy I was talking to. He wasn't my boyfriend. We weren't official or anything. But he was like, oh, you want to go to McCoon's tomorrow? I was like, oh, that would be nice. But girl, I said no. This is what I mean. I still said no. And this is the thing. But I feel like if it was my boyfriend and then was like, you want to go McCoon's tomorrow? I'll be like, sure, let's do it, right? But yeah. So that's side point. But anyway, so I think they're actually very cute together. And Chris was like, he likes that she's athletic, she's easy to be around, she's a go-getter. I'm like, look at you, Chris. Like, alrighty. And he was like, oh, she has so many qualities and characteristics that he loves. I'm like, okay, I want to see more of this, Lee. Like, I enjoyed seeing her banter with Chris. And I know Chris is easy to be around because, like, on Chris's dates with a lot of women, except Jessica, I feel like there tends to be like a nice banter. Even with Jessica, I think, was there? I can't remember. But with the other girls that we've seen him with, there's always been like, remember that conversation with Kat where it was like they were bouncing off each other's energy and it was really fun and nice. Anyway, it sounds like Chris likes Lee, okay? Moving on. Marie and Sierra. I honestly don't see it. I really don't see it. But let me know if you all see it because I don't see it with them. Okay. So Sierra starts calling him out in a group setting, talking about, she likes to be treated like a princess and stuff like that. And so he's like, okay, do you want to go over to the other side and let's talk about it privately? So he pulled her to the side and Maria was like, if I call you, how quickly do you call me back? So she's like, B is busy, but she does call back. I'm like, okay. You say you want pressure being put on you, but then the man calls you and you take forever to respond. Like, I need clarity as to how long you take to respond, honey. Now, bear in mind, I, as someone who is also very busy, like, I could be super, super busy, right? And So I understand, like, if you call me, sometimes I can't call you immediately. But if I'm feeling you, even if I can't call you immediately, I'll call you as soon as I can. So I'm very curious as to how long it takes her to call. Are we talking the next day or are we talking the same day? Like, I need that context. That's the kind of context I would like to see at the reunion, right? But we're probably not going to see it. So he's like, he feels like she's guarded. I agree with him. I feel like, don't get me wrong, I love Sierra's banter. I love how funny she is on the show. But I feel like the fact that she's always making everything funny, usually that means you're trying to mask something. And I think instead of being vulnerable, she's funny to replace or to prevent or to hide the fact that she doesn't want to be vulnerable. And so I think she can get to that point, but I think she just needs to try and open up a bit more, and not everything needs to be a joke, right? Like, you can, I can be quite funny, like in my personal life, like when I'm dating someone and when I'm out and stuff. But that does not mean that I lead with that every single time. Like, I'm not about to be, you're only going to get that side of me when we're in like maybe a group setting and we're all joking about stuff. Then you're like, girl, she is funny, I did not know that. But then in my day-to-day life, I actually come across quite serious, right? Unless like you're with me in that space, then you'd be like, oh bro, she's funny. And so clearly not as funny as Sierra, I will say that. But anyways, back to Sierra, honey. Like, I just think she needs to know when to tone it down. Like, not every day is like, it's not every time, like, sometimes you just tone it down. At least, or unless you want to be the homie, and which, yeah, we'll talk about that later. So Jessica was starting to work overtime, honey. She made Maria a plate. I'm like, okay, so you made this man a plate because you don't want to get eliminated? And the reason I thought that was because she was saying in her confessionals, she needs to put in more effort because it's the ladies' time to go home. So to everyone, it's a game. And that's the problem. I think they really should be eliminating people when we should be the ones to eliminate people. This is what I feel like Ready to Love should be like. I feel like if we don't see connections with these people, we as the viewers should ask for them to be eliminated off the show. Because I feel like because they're invested in not being eliminated and wanting to play the game and boost their ego, wanting to feel wanted, they end up staying and dragging things out when there is no need to be dragging things out. Jessica, you don't want that man. Maria, you don't want Jessica. Let's be honest. If you had other options, you would not be sticking to that. Let's be completely honest. So you guys are just dragging it out because you guys want to play the game. That is the truth. In my opinion, I better say in my opinion, because I'm giving it to these people like I know them. But in my opinion, let's qualify it as that. So they decided to have like games night and play like a card game. I was like, okay, I'm sure this is about to go left. And yes, boy, I was right. So the guys started saying like, they don't want to know. So one of the questions on the card was like about knowing a woman's body count. And the guy said they don't want to know. I was like, okay, cool. Then Maria proceeds to talk about he's never experienced love before. I'm like, dude, I don't believe you. I don't buy it. I feel like you're full of BS, in my opinion. I felt that way since day one, especially with the way you did this whole tarot card thing. And then the next day showed up wearing a cross. Like, I don't understand, sir. You're given inauthentic, right? And you're given, I'm be what you need me to be, but I don't know what I am on. I don't like it. I don't want no parts of it. I don't know why the women are not seeing it. I'm not here for it. Let's just put it that way. Okay? So then they start talking about this question that is always blowing up on social media, honey. How do you feel about gender roles? Chris starts talking about, he does not feel gender roles in the way society does. He doesn't feel the same way about gender roles in the way society does. Now, this is the thing. Even if he's saying some BS, right? Let him finish, right? Because I feel like I was missing the context of what Chris was saying. because the girls just pretty much jumped on it. And I know it's easy to want to jump on it, because in the past when people have said certain things I didn't agree with, I'm like, but then I've had to be like, you know what, let this person finish so you can get the context, right? I don't always do it, depending on what we're talking about. But when it comes to conversations like this, maybe because at some point I was on a talk show, you just get to a point where you just let people finish and then you say your opinion, because you don't want to be going back and forth. You're just like, I ain't got time for this. So I feel like maybe that's the kind of space I'm in. But like, I would have just been like, let that man finish his thoughts so that we can then argue afterward. Where I can say what I gotta say, you can believe what you want to believe, and let's just all go home. Okay? So then they didn't let him finish. I didn't like that. But then Chris then was saying in his confessionals that Jessica just wants to argue, and that she can have her household the way she wants her household, and he would have his household the way he wants his household. Then this is the thing that Chris said. I was like, what? Chris was like, if Jessica does not change, she will be a 60-year-old woman living with a bunch of cats. I'm like, oh, Chris, no, you did not. I can't lie. I was like, oopsie. Chris was not feeling Jessica. And as someone who is Nigerian, right, I feel like I have a little bit more of an understanding of what Chris may be like. Now, of course, I can't speak on him. He may not be. And Nigerians are of different spectrums, all of that. And, you know, we're from a bunch of different places. But I feel like I can understand some of what he's saying, and maybe he's just not expressing it in the way in which he means it, or maybe he is saying what he said, that's what he really believes, right? So I think the problem is, because we didn't see enough of what he said, I can't really make an assessment either way on that issue. But I'm very, very curious to hear what he says at the reunion, because I'm like, But anyway, so Janelle. So let's go back to the gender roles comment, honey. So they start talking, and Chris was like, you know, he does not feel like women should be paying bills. Did you see how Kat clapped? Kat was like, yes, sir. I do not want to pay nothing. And that's just period. And so Janelle then starts saying about how, you know, the woman was created to be the helpmate to the man, and that, you know, like, women are here because like men needed help, blah blah blah. So Sarah was basically like, she ain't carrying no weight. And then Kat said the same thing, and Janelle was like, we know. I'm like, oh, what's the girl done? And then Kat starts talking about the fact that she's done this whole alpha thing, masculine thing, but now she prefers to rest in her femininity. I'm like, I know that's right, girl. Talking from a woman who has done that, been there, done that. Even sometimes I'm like, because of the spaces in which I generally am, sometimes I can rest in my masculine energy. But I try to like get a balance, especially outside of like work and stuff like that. And now I'm generally getting better at resting in my femininity. I think also the person that you are dating also helps with that, because sometimes I've noticed that certain people bring more of a feminine energy out of me, and some it's like war. It's like if you bring out that like very, very dominant personality, and it's like, girl, I didn't even think it was in there. Like, I thought you were like soft and like go lucky and stuff. But yeah. Anyways, let's move back to these folks, honey. So Janelle then starts talking about she hates that a woman doing her thing is usually being seen as masculine. And then Kat was like, I don't want my words to be misconstrued. Janelle was like, hold on. And then Kat was like, check the attitude. I was like, oh, goodness me. And then Janelle was like, I would have the attitude. I'm still here. I'm like, oh, okay, Janelle. Like, sis. There is no need for things to go the way they go. And this is the thing. I feel like Janelle does not know when to stop, right? Like, that did not need to escalate at all. It really didn't. But I feel like Janelle was probably still upset about the fact that Kat was trying to move in on Quentin, and she's like, that is my man, and you ain't coming anywhere near my man. And that's why she's like, I am not playing with you. I'm going to come back at you whenever I get the chance. I think that's what it was. I was not feeling it. I was not liking it. It's just not it for me. Okay? And so Kat got up and left. Maria tried to like go there and like try and console her. She was visibly shaken by the whole thing. And then Quentin was over there like, trying to rob on like Janelle and stuff. And then he was saying in the confessionals that he was disappointed in her. I'm like, okay, if you're disappointed in her, why not tell her? Why are you telling us? You're telling us and not telling her, but then sitting in her face, acting like it's cool. No, tell her. Sir, tell her. Don't tell us. It's giving you're scared of her, so you want to be a confessional bandit. A confessional gangster, rather. That's what it's called. You want to be in the confessionals telling us, ooh, nah, she out of line, but you ain't gonna say it to her face? Like, no, bro, we ain't here for it. Now, moving on to Sierra and Marie, they seem to have like a one-on-one like conversation. He starts talking about how he hasn't really experienced love, and then it seems like that made Sierra even more comfortable around him. And she was like, if you've never really experienced love and you haven't loved someone, then how can I expect you to show me that love? And she was feeling like, she needed to be more, I guess, calm and softer with him, or more vulnerable with him. And then Mario was saying in his confessionals that he feels like this moment is a little too late. And I'm like, yeah, it's given like, girl, you're about to get eliminated, and now we're having vulnerable conversations. But anyway, Chris and Kat decided to have like a mini date. So they went over there, out there, and were talking. Chris starts telling her about how in his family they play like the Hunger Games, but then she has to have a kid with her, and like, if she wants to go rent a kid, she can do that. I was just like, oh Lord, Chris. So he starts talking about being like family oriented, and when his mom died, the family came together, bought everyone flight tickets to go to Nigeria. Well, he said Africa, but I know it's Nigeria. To Nigeria to like, all of that good stuff, yeah? So what's interesting is when Kat was in the confessional, she starts talking about, oh, Chris is ticking all the boxes. He's a provider. Is it this? Is it that? I'm like, Katarina, honey, didn't you have a first date with Chris? Didn't you friend zone him after that date? You had such a good time on the screen, but then you friend zoned him afterwards. You probably felt like he was too short for you or something. And then was like, I don't really know. Let me see what else is out there. And now at the 11th hour, you want Chris to claim you. Yes, that ain't gonna happen. So Chris, of course, is connecting with her, but he's like, he's strongly connecting with Lee, but he's also seeing a romantic side with Kat. But yeah, I was like, no, I think Chris and Lee are more balanced together. I feel like they're better fits. Like I think that. Of course, I need to see a little bit more, but from what I see, honey, I think they're a better fit. So Lee decided to organize a step workout for the group. I was like, okay, girl, yes, like show us how to get this buddy, honey. So she's doing the step workouts. It's looking interesting. I'm looking around and I'm seeing that Janelle she has a stank attitude. She's deciding not to do anything. She's like, she ain't engaging with it. I'm like, girl, I know it's okay to not like working out, but like a little 2-step here and there, like learn a step, like just look like you're doing something for like 5 seconds, like a few minutes, honey. She's like, nah, she just looks like she does not want to do it. And so Lee was like, I don't think Janelle and Quentin are compatible at the gym. Maybe that's not a requirement of his. I'm like, when I tell you I cracked up, I was like, all right, come through, Lee. I saw that sneaky, like, sly, shady comment. Like, come through, honey. Not mad at it at all. So Uncle Tommy came back over and he was trying to figure out who are the guys feeling and who are they not feeling. And so, of course, Chris said, he's feeling Lee, but also he was getting on with Kat. And then Quentin basically said his energy is towards Janelle. Maury said he had a really good conversation with Sierra, and so Jessica and Sierra. And then if you tell me, I was like, okay, so who are we not connecting with? So Phil said Kat and Jessica. And then Chris said Jessica. And then Tommy was like, oh, you used to, Jessica was at the top of your list before. And he was like, yes, she was. But there was a time where she came to visit him whilst he was at work. And he felt like she was combative. And when he stood up to her, he felt like she was turned on by it. And I'm like, that statement makes me feel like there must be something more that we haven't seen. Because he said she was turned on by when he stood up to her. So what was said that did not air? I need to see that. Or what, because Chris doesn't come across as a liar. So I'm trying to understand, like, what happened? Did she tell him that she likes when a man puts her in her place? Because I know that's a statement some girls make. Like, I'm very curious about that. Marie said he wasn't feeling Lee and Aries. Quentin said Sierra. Chris said Sierra, that he has zero romantic connections with her. And so then Marie was the one that basically had to break the news. He called forth Sierra and Jessica. And then said to Jessica, the guys have decided that you're combative. I'm like, bro, how you finna tell her? Now she's going to be wondering who said she's combative, and she's going to be pissed. And then Sierra, on the other hand, you're too playful, blah, 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 which I think is true. And then they sort of ended it there, and that was the end of this episode. So I'm curious to see what next episode will be about. I do wonder, I personally think like Sierra would be booted off the show. If anything, I feel like she should have left by herself. You don't wait to be eliminated when you don't really have a strong connection, honey. You leave and be like, yeah, I left. Wasn't connecting with nobody, so I left. But I guess people are there for different reasons. Anyways, let me know what you thought of the episode in the comment section below. Please give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. And make sure you tap that bell for notifications so you know every single time that I post. See you later. Bye.